everyone. Welcome to another edition of BKConnect. Chris Sheeran, Devin Carparian, and Rod Boone here back with you again. We're at the 40-40 Club this time at Barclays Center. And the way to get your questions into these guys who always have their finger on the pulse of the Nets, whether it be thebrooklyngame.com or Newsday, just go to the Yes Network's Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter pages. Use the hashtag BKConnect. We'll see the question, and hopefully, if you're lucky, these guys will get to answer it. Now, the team right now, guys, no one expected them to get out to the kind of start that they've gotten out to. And the hot button issue right now is definitely the third quarter. And that is driven home by @FakeGorilla via Twitter. Fake Gorilla's getting real. What's going on in the third quarter for the Nets? They want to know. Hashtag BKConnect. Hashtag will you stop? So, Rod, what's going on in the third quarter?
I think the biggest thing is just they're not coming out with the right energy, it seems like, and they're not making the right adjustments. First, second quarter, they're fine. After halftime, which was a problem for them last year, they're not coming out with the way they should. So the biggest thing is they're not scoring the ball, obviously. They're getting outscored by almost 100 points in their 10 losses in the third quarter. So if they can just shore up that part of their game, I think they'll be okay. But it's a big aspect right now because they just have a lot of trouble with the third quarters.
Yeah, at some point I think it's psychological even. Joe Johnson said it. He said, this team, they go into halftime, they talk about their struggles in the third quarter. So he suggested just don't talk about it at all. And then Jason Kidd even himself said maybe we'll just stay on the court and not even go into the locker room at halftime. So I think at some point there's just there's a place where you want to go into the halftime and know that the third quarter is just like any other quarter. You still have to run your plays, you still have to get good shots. You can't go into isolation and wait for the last 4 seconds of the shot clock before you get a shot up. And once they can get that done, and remember that basketball is the same game no matter what quarter you play, I think they'll be fine.
The second question coming to us from GanderRow14, also Twitter. Will we ever see a healthy Darren Williams again? Hashtag BKConnect. Now, that's an interesting question. He hasn't really been 100%, as we all know, this year. Are we ever going to see him at 100% for a stretch?
I think we will. But the thing is, how long will that stretch last? Because the thing with Darren is, we saw last year, the second half of the season, after the All-Star break, when he's healthy, the guy's still
really caught fire. Yeah.
Right, he caught fire. His biggest thing is just staying healthy. His ankles, it's his elbow, it's his anything almost. If he can just stay on the court, this team is a different team. But with him not out there, they're just not the same team that they should be right now, it seems like.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, you look at Darren, and the one thing I think we need to make clear is that the 2 accidents he had, those were freak accidents. I mean, you land on somebody's foot, you're going to twist your ankle, you're going to sprain it. I don't care who you are. That's a freak accident.
Especially when you're in amongst the trees.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
But that doesn't change the fact that he has had problems with these ankles before. He's had these. He had to have bone chips cleaned up in his ankle. He had to get platelet-rich plasma therapy. He had cortisone shots in February. And it's a great question. I don't know if we're going to see a consistently healthy Darren Williams at any point, in his career with the Nets. Now, if he gets to that level, we saw it last February. We saw it, throughout the playoffs. He's one of the best point guards in the league. But if we don't see that guy on the floor, they're going to struggle.
We did take a poll for the play of the month. We're going to do this with you guys, too. Every month we have a play of the month, and we had 3 of them to choose from. Coming in last place, even though it was a great dunk, Kevin Garnett, his putback dunk against the Indiana Pacers. That garnered 14% of our fan vote. The Paul Pierce dunk, where he crossed over Oladipo and took him to school and said, hey, welcome to the pros, big fella. That got 28% of the vote. But obviously, the one that wins is Joe Johnson's game winner in Phoenix. And, Rod, considering the dismal start to the season, let's not pull any punches. It's in black and white. It's right there in front of us. It's no surprise that that's the shot that everybody's going to, because it was a huge shot for them.
It was a huge shot. And think about it. If Channing Frye hits that three-pointer right before he misses, we're talking about different thing right about now. But Channing Frye misses the three-pointer. The rebound is battered around, goes to Joe Johnson's hands. This is the clock. He says, I got enough time to kind of dribble myself and set myself up. Did a little hesitation fake, got to the three-point line, went to the basket, laid it up. The buzzer was good, man. It was a fantastic shot, a humongous shot for them, because they need that to win that game. If they didn't win that game, they lost that trip in 0-3.
I had a chance to talk to Joe during training camp because he had 4 game winners last year, and a lot of them in the very same fashion. And he said something to me. He said, you know, when you have a certain amount of time on the clock, about 5 seconds, like you did against Phoenix, you have a time to get off about 2 moves in the half court, and then you got to find your shot. And you know, his first move was getting into the half court because they got it in the other end of the court. And then he had that little hesitation move that you brought up, just very, very quickly against a young, athletic team like Phoenix. They ran right past him. He had just enough time on the clock so that when the floater went up, the buzzer sounded, shot went in, they won it.